This is 7-5 Radio with Walter Yerkew and Peter Scoop Stanton. This is the radio show that will break your neck if your neck needs breaking. And here are the hosts of 7-5 Radio, Walter Yerkew, star of the biggest documentary movie ever made, The 7-5, and Peter Scoop Stanton, who starred in To Catch a Predator.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, one and all. This is Peter Scoop Stanton with Walter Yerkew and Mike Rigbrandt. We are red hot rolling this 28th of February, 2026. We got a hell of a show for you. Anyways, let's go around the room real quick. Walter, how are we doing tonight, my friend?
I'm here.
Outstanding. Mike, how are we doing?
Doing great, boss. Doing great.
Outstanding. You sound real good, Mike. I told you, if you stop smoking raccoon poop, you'll go very far. Anyways, we want to say hello to all of our special listeners, including Little Billy Keebler and the men and alleged women of the Yanadasas New York Fire Department, New York's finest, New York's bravest, New York's boldest, New York's strongest. Those living on Long Island in the 2nd Congressional District, also all members of ICE and the U.S. Border Patrol. As always, first order of business, we want to read off the names of those members of the law enforcement community who were murdered in the line of duty. Tonight, remember, Deputy Sheriff Michael Hiscope of Christian County, Missouri Sheriff's Office, end of watch, February 24th, 2026. His killer is DOA. Also, we want to remember Correction Officer Dustin Pettigo of the Tennessee Department of Corrections, end of watch, also February 24th, 2026. His killer is in custody. Also, we need to remember Deputy Sheriff Gabriel Ramirez, also of the Christian County, Missouri Sheriff's Office, end of watch, February 23rd, 2026. His killer, just like with Deputy Hiscope, is DOA. Anyways, first story, as always, unless you just woke up or just came back from outer space, is the U.S. has attacked Iran. So we're going to just go through opinions real quick. Who's right, who's wrong? Should we do it? Should we not do it? So, Walter, I'm going to give it to you since you are the best orator of 7-5 Radio. Take it away, sir.
Oh, I am? Okay, I'll take it away. Well, we woke up this morning to, we're in the middle of a war with Iran and, working alongside Israel. The louder bombs came from the left, later on because, we weren't notified. And Jasmine Crocker Crap, she said, the president didn't ask me my permission. Well, Iran has been collecting munitions for many, many years to build a nuclear program. And that threatens our allies in Europe, our U.S. troops in Europe. And if we let them go further, long-range missiles are very possible to hit the United States. Mr. Trump and his cabinet and his party felt, as I do, that we're in danger. 10,000 miles away, but we're in danger. Our brothers in arms are in danger. Our allies are in danger. And God help us if Kamala Chameleon was in the White House now, this wouldn't be going on. They'd be building nuclear missiles to strike us. The issue that I find hard to swallow is everybody on the left is now they say stuff. The other day with the State of the Union address, they didn't say a word. Now they can't keep their mouths shut because we're at war. It's okay for the United States to wage war. It's constitutionally acceptable. It's executively acceptable. The president is allowed to, under threat of our country, or our countrymen being threatened with war. It's the president can take that initiative and fire the first shot. And why not? We've already taken out their leader, another Khomeini, but Ali Khomeini, not Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, and we are in charge. We are large and in charge. Mr. Trump is showing the world that we are a power, just like he led off the State of the Union address, stronger than ever before. He was in contact with the military and the leadership of Iran, told them to cease and desist and put down their weapons, and they refused, and have at it. He did exactly what he said he was going to do, and it's going to continue. We took out their leader, and we took out many military installations, and we have wiped out their nuclear program. What is wrong with that? I ask the world that is against this military endeavor. What is wrong with that? Not a damn thing in my book.
Okay. Mike, what say you about the situation in Iran?
Walt's right. He's absolutely spot on. It just was absolutely necessary. It needed to happen. It should have happened a long time ago. Instead, we had Obama, who went ahead and gave them billions of dollars on top of, free reign to do whatever the hell they wanted. This is the biggest exporter of terrorism in the world since the 70s, right? 1979, they had their little revolution there. They took over this country. And I think what most people don't realize is the Iranian ruling class, the regime, the Ayatollah and those ruling Iran are Arabic, but the Iranians themselves are Persian. It's not the same. It's completely different cultures. So there's that clash to begin with. But this is the biggest exporter of terrorism in the world, bar none, over the last 4 or 5 decades. So just for a number of reasons, it needed to happen. So I'm glad it happened. And as far as Jasmine Ghetto Crockett is concerned, she's an idiot. The Gang of Eight was notified. So that represents the House minority and House majority leaders in both the Senate and House, and it represents the House and the Senate Armed Services and Defense Committees chairs. So the people who actually would need to know were notified prior to the actual strike taking place. Not to mention the fact that constitutionally he has the authority to strike in this nature. He can't carry on prolonged war or make a declaration of war without Congress and the Senate, but he can do limited military action to protect the interests and the security of the United States, which is exactly what he's doing. So he's legally just fine doing what he's doing. Now, as far as the leftists are out there, protesting, I think it was Fox News had a report that 10 minutes before he even put this information out that they had struck Iran, Neville Singh's little communist army was putting out the word to get the protests out in New York City and elsewhere. So their little network already had the information 10 minutes prior. The bombs are really just starting to fall, and they're getting the word out to go out and protest that we should lay our hands off Iran and get the talking points out there to the little, useful idiots out there in America and elsewhere. It's amazing to me. So if you look at the parallels between this and Venezuela, right? We had Venezuelans in the streets celebrating the takedown of Maduro, while white liberal leftists here were protesting against taking Maduro out and telling these same people who lived under this guy's murderous regime that they were wrong. And now we have part 2 with Iran, and yet again, the same idiots are out there telling everybody else in the world that they're wrong because somehow the Ayatollah was a good guy. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad he's dead. I hope they kill the rest of that entire regime and give the country back to the Iranians who deserve to be free.
Okay, very good. Well, here's my opinion, which differs from both of you gentlemen. The U.S. and Israel went and attacked Iran. You know who is not in that battle? You had countries such as Canada, Mexico, and Japan. My thing is that the U.S. has to be everywhere doing everything for everyone. My thing is enough. Let's bring our boys home. Let's If Iran does something stupid, then of course, blowing back to the Stone Ages. But my thing is that do we have to be everywhere, getting involved in every single skirmish on planet Earth? I wish Trump just would. I wish he didn't do this for the simple fact that we got another war. Some of our boys are going to come home in body bags, but anyways, when we come back, we'll continue about the war in Iran. Hopefully, it ends real quickly. Also, we want to talk about USA Hockey. The NYPD gives up the State of the Union and my new clothing line. This is 75 Radio on Liberty News Radio Network.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
The Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit legal foundation committed to protecting our unalienable right to publicly acknowledge God. The Foundation for Moral Law exists to restore the knowledge of God in law and government and to acknowledge and defend the truth that man is endowed with rights not by our fellow man, but by God. The Foundation maintains a twofold focus. First, litigation within state and federal courts. Second, education, conducting seminars to teach the necessity and importance of acknowledging God in law and government. How can you help? Please make a tax-deductible contribution, allowing Foundation attorneys to continue the fight. You may also purchase various Foundation products as well at morallaw.org. Located in Montgomery, Alabama, the Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 founded by Judge Roy Moore. Please partner with us to achieve this important mission. morallaw.org.
Step into the boots of the American West with Range Magazine, where grit meets grace. This is a front row seat to the stories, struggles, and triumphs of ranchers, farmers, and stewards of the land. From jaw-dropping photography to no-nonsense reporting, Range brings you the untold tales of life on the range. Whether you're a city dweller with a cowboy's heart or living life where the pavement ends, Range speaks to the soul of the West. Subscribe today at rangemagazine.com.
You're back, and Scoop is just getting done staring at Danila's Instagram account. Here's more 7.5 Radio.
And we are back. Scoop stand with Walter and Mike Regbrand. We're talking about Iran. Both Walter and Mike says it's a good thing that we are in Iran. I say it's a bad thing because you have first world or Western countries such as Canada. They're not involved. Mexico's not involved. Japan's not involved. You know who else is not involved in bombing Iran is China. And China is a bigger threat, in my opinion, than Iran. With China, they go there with a... Go ahead.
Okay. The Chinese thing. So China gets cheap oil from Iran, right? Strategically, China absolutely has to have that cheap oil from Iran, or it can't really sustain itself. China's on like a precipice, and they have been for a very long time. Everything's built on like a lie with that country. So that's why you see like empty cities half built and things like that. China has a lot of problems. Geopolitically, China has to have Iran in the mix. They have to. A, as a proxy to commit things and do things that they can't, have their fingerprints on. And B, for the cheap oil that they get from them. So now, with the Khomeini and the rest of that murderous regime out of life now, they blew them to pieces, but out of the way, they can't get that now. So that puts China in even more precarious position than it's been before. And they don't have the kind of navy that they try to pretend that they have, that they can get out and actually do like a blue water navy where they could actually fight, even us. They couldn't. Their navy can't operate more than 50 miles off their coast for the most part, the vast majority of it. I think 90% of their Navy is like, shoreline operations type things. They really aren't built to be able to do sustained operations beyond their own borders for the most part. So, China's a paper tiger. I mean, don't get me wrong, they can take a big bite. They would too if they tried, but it wouldn't be a sustainable one. It would be very quickly for them. So geopolitically, this is a good thing to kind of put China back in its place as well, to kind of push them back out of the Philippine Sea and other areas they're trying to kind of exert their influence on. It's just another positive aspect of this whole thing. As far as Iran is concerned, listen, I'm not for boots on the ground. We don't have to have boots on the ground. All you got to do is decapitate the leadership there and let the people take over, and that's exactly what's happening. You're seeing it in the south of Iran. They're knocking down the Khomeini statues. Cities are falling now. The police are turning on IRGC, and they're turning over to these civilians and stuff. I think you're going to see, not the regime change of old where we've had the forever wars in Afghanistan or Iraq that, so many of our current politicians are making so much money on, but an actual regime change that should happen where it's turned back over to the people to figure out their own government, figure out their own way forward, and put the country back on its place.
But Mike, a couple things. First, since we cut off China's cheap oil, would China get involved? Like, hey, that's our oil now. Give us our stuff back. Would they get involved in our battle with Iran, or I like to say target practice?
No, I don't think China's not going to militarily get involved. China's going to do is going to come to the table. They'll work out a deal, some kind of diplomatic deal or some kind of deal where they'll get the oil they need, at whatever rate they need it at, so to speak, like, a reasonable rate, whatever. They'll get it cheaper than, say, the average person would, right? And they'll get it. They'll keep getting their oil, but they're not going to get it at the rate they were getting it at, not going to get as much of it they were getting. So they'll get enough to sustain themselves for the most part, but not really to be able to kind of, push into areas they shouldn't be pushing into. And plus, it gives you leverage over them. It gives the U.S. and its allies leverage over China to say, hey, okay, you can have all the oil, you can have this oil, you can have that oil, but stay out of the Philippine Sea, stay out of this area, stay away from Japan, you know what I mean? Leave Taiwan alone, rather. Like those kinds of things can be put on the table to kind of force them to negotiate. So it's a good leverage point. Just all around, it's not a bad thing. Listen, Khomeini, they killed 30,000 protesters a month ago for the simple fact of protesting. That's not a regime that needs to stand. One of the Saudi princes called him Khomeini the Hitler of the Middle East, and this guy's not exactly a friend of the West. So to give you an idea how really backwards this guy is.
Right, but let me put another question out there. Where does it say that the U.S. has a step in top of the government of Iran? Why is it always
interest? We have a vested interest in it. So we have our own, we have our own infrastructure in the area. We have our own oil, kind of infrastructure in that area, in that region. We have allies in that region, in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia and Dubai. UAE rather. Dubai's the city there. These are all, allies to us. They're all people who actually work with us in both Gulf Wars that we've fought. And after Iran, what happened when we attacked Iran? Iran attacked all of them. And they all formed a coalition alongside us in Israel to attack back, to fight back. So it's a lot more complex, I guess, than maybe it looks at first. But that had to happen. That absolutely had to happen. I'd like to see the bureaucrats of old come out and take the blame for what they did, because they caused a revolution in Iran in the 70s that led to this nonsense that we're seeing now. It was our own CIA that actually set this thing up and put it in place, kind of like, Al-Qaeda and a bunch of other things that went on that shouldn't have gone on. So the other aspect of this that people aren't talking about much yet is the whole kind of deep state aspect of it, where you have this lifelong bureaucrat intelligence state that created this mess around the world by doing all this regime change in the 60s, 70s, and 80s that led to all these, extremist organizations and nations that have created so much havoc in the world.
Wow. Well, you're bringing a good point. Well, you got anything to add? Because my thing is, let's keep our boys home, and if they do something stupid, then we'll blow them back in the Stone Age.
Look, Mike knocked it out of the park. He just, put everything right there in 3 minutes or less, Mike. Fabulous job. Fabulous commentary.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. All right. So let's moving right along. Everybody's going, go USA. Anyways, earlier this week or earlier this month, the USA men's hockey team beat Canada for the gold medal. This is the first gold medal since the 1980 team beat one in Lake Placid, New York. And also, as a special tribute to their former teammate or a teammate that passed, Jenny Gaudreau, the USA men's hockey team not only came out with his jersey, but for the medal ceremony, they brought out Goudreau's kids. And to me, this is just a very touching moment. And then on top of that, the star of the game, Jack Hughes, who scored the winning goal, said that, quote, "I love the USA." But compare this with the god-awful Super Bowl, which I went to the best party ever with some of the best-looking ladies ever, but that's a different story. To me, this was much, much better because is the whole country behind the men's hockey team for the United States. You had the star of the game, Jack Hughes, saying, "I love the USA." Everything was in English. No Spanish songs. No calling out other nations. No Spanish foul language or innuendo or whatnot. But kudos to men's hockey for doing a real stand-up job. To me, this is what sports is all about. Mike, what say you about the USA hockey team?
Class act all the way. Those guys worked their butts off to get where they got. They worked their butts off even harder to win, and they had a very, very well-earned victory. Unfortunately, the Canadians are too worried about what gender they were, which bathroom they used, and they couldn't really focus on the game, and, things went the way they should go when your country goes woke like that.
Right. And, what say you about the Team USA winning it all and then paying tribute to a fallen comrade?
I know exactly where I was in 1980 the night the Miracle on Ice happened. I was on a bus headed north to go skiing for the weekend with some of my friends, and we had a blast. We were listening to the game, and amazing. 46 years later, repeat. 46 years later, repeat. I wasn't on a bus. I was at home having some Jack Daniels, watching the ice do their job, and had a blast. It was fantastic. It was a fantastic thing. They held up this guy's jersey, just to add to it, and it was just fabulous. Nobody in the world, whether you like us or not, nobody in the world could take this away from our Olympic hockey team. Nobody. But they tried.
Right. What's extra special is that it was Canada's team because all the other championships, Olympics, it's always the U.S. and Canada, and Canada always wins. It's like somebody beating men's basketball here in the U.S. But also when during international play, when like Team USA plays up in Canada, people boo the national anthem. They disrespect the national anthem. But it is a bittersweet moment. I couldn't be any prouder. People were getting up at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, drinking Jack Daniels, drinking whatever, rooting for America. And I'm surprised nobody from the left who came out and says, well, there's not enough diversity on the men's hockey team, or where's the LGBTQ, where's this, where's that. None of that happened. The majority of, as far as I can tell, were players on Team USA were white, but nobody cares because that victory reminded me of the movie Miracle about the 1980 hockey team where Kurt Russell plays Coach Herb Brooks. And one of the most iconic lines in that movie was, the name on the front of your jersey is more important than the name on the back. And that, through the whole movie, that really, really struck me. To me, that's just as good as, you're going to need a bigger boat, go ahead and make my day, and all these other ones. Much better than I'll be back, and so on and so forth. But anyways, I'm really, really glad. And then Trump, of course, had the men's team come in and to the State of the Union, the White House, so on and so forth. But anyways, we come back. We'll talk about people keeping the phones on. Also, New York's finest is defeated, and the State of the Union, and the Scooped clothing line. Stay tuned, everybody. This is 7.5 Radio on Liberty News Radio Network.
Your daily Liberty News Wire. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Mary Rose. The White House says Iran's supreme leader has been killed in a military bombardment carried out by the U.S. and Israel.
In a social media post, President Trump announced that Iran's Ayatollah Khamenei is dead, saying his passing is the single greatest chance for the Iranian people to take back their country. The president said the assassination is justice for the Iranian people, as well as Americans and others who have been killed or mutilated by the regime. He said the U.S. and Israel launched combat operations to destroy Iran's long-range missiles and because of failed nuclear talks. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Key members of Congress want to restrain President Trump's military attack on Iran.
Democrats and some Republicans in Congress are demanding a vote on a war powers resolution that would require President Donald Trump to win the approval of Congress for any further action in Iran. The leader of the Senate's bipartisan effort, Democrat Tim Kaine of Virginia, says, has President Trump learned nothing from decades of U.S. meddling in Iran and forever wars in the Middle East? Republican Lindsey Graham is calling the strikes on Iran a historic operation and says, well done, Mr. President. Donna Warder, Washington.
More arrests over the Minnesota church protests that led to charges against Don Lemon.
30 additional people are being charged over the January 18th anti-ICE protest at a St. Paul, Minnesota church that led to the arrests of Don Lemon, Georgia Fort, and local activists. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced that most of the protesters were already in custody. 39 people now face charges of conspiracy against religious freedom and interfering with the right of religious freedom. A lawyer for City's church praised the Justice Department for charging more people, saying the First Amendment does not give anyone license to storm a church and intimidate families. Protesters focused on the church after learning a pastor there is also an immigration enforcement official.
More on these stories at Town Hall.
Life moves fast. Staying sharp, focused, and clear-headed isn't always easy. That's why the same company that brings you Relief Factor has developed something brand new, Think Factor. Think Factor is made to help you think clearer and perform better daily. It's a powerful blend of nutrients that unlocks mental clarity and precision, nurtures your memory, boosts your attention. With Think Factor, brain power and performance finally meet for lasting daily results. Supercharge your memory, mental sharpness. Your brain is your most valuable asset, powering your creativity, focus, and daily performance. If you're feeling mentally foggy, give it a try. After a couple of weeks of taking Think Factor, it was a game changer for me. Look, the longer you take Think Factor, the better it works for you. If you've ever thought you want to be more clear, more focused, call 800-4-RELIEF. 800, the number 4-RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com to learn more and order Think Factor. Your first bottle is just $19.95. Think Factor. Think clearer, perform better daily. Call 800-4-RELIEF or visit relieffactor.com for Think Factor.
How do you know your child loves you?
When he calls and he says, Dad, why don't we go fishing? Just very simple, but it really counts.
They make a song up and they come into our bedroom and say, we made a song, and will you listen to it?
Our next to oldest daughter came to me with tears in her eyes, and she said, Daddy, I just thank you for coming home every night when we were growing up.
My son does the nicest things. When he's playing outside, he'll come in and just give me a hug and run right back outside.
My daughter goes to the same high school that I'm the registrar at, and I'll go into my office after the bell has rung, and there's a note on my desk. And it'll usually say, Mom, I love you. I'm thinking about you.
And I think of my boy that we finally got him through graduation. And he came up to me and said, I made it. Thanks.
Family. Isn't it about time?
That's all he said. And that meant everything to me.
From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At cspoa.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever.
This is a battle between truth and deceit. A battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
TheEpochTimes.com
Wow, you're still listening? Here's more 7-5 Radio.
And we are back. Scoop Stanton with Walter Yerkew and Mike Rakebranch. Now we're going to talk about our hometown, our prior job, New York City, New York. New York's finest are under attack. More than just bullets and fists and other objects. Anyways, first we got keyboard warriors getting in the face of MOS, harassing them out in the street while they're doing their job, dealing with the public, making arrests, or just going about their business, but keeping the city safe. They put their phones in front of these people and ask them these stupid questions, or as they're effecting an arrest or dealing with a mutt, they get in the face to harass them, and then they dox them. They find out who they are and say, you got Officer Staten who has numerous CCRB complaints. He's been sued. He's been suspended, this, that, and other thing. And unfortunately, it's all illegal. And, the cops have a tough enough job as it is. And putting a phone in some cop's face for doing his or her job does not help whatsoever. And then you have Washington Square Park. This Monday, New York City again was hit with a massive snowstorm. And a group of people wanted to go to Washington Square Park, have a snowball fight, which is common in big cities. They go to a big park. Here in D.C., they go to National Mall, have a snowball fight. So, anyways, it got out of hand because people were throwing snowballs at people that don't want to be involved in the snowball fight. They're throwing them at cars, just acting a fool. So New York's finest was called in, and New York's finest showed up, and they were assaulted with snowballs. And it broke my heart as a former MOS, and I know I'm going to get your guys' opinion in a couple minutes, to see these guys turn around and walk away. So these guys and girls are wearing their uniforms. They got their knit hats, NYPD emblazoned on the front, and they're getting hit with snowballs, walking away. And then you have Fat Alvin Bragg, the New York County District Attorney. His office decided not to file charges for assaulting an officer because this 27-year-old so-called influencer was caught throwing a snowball at these cops. So in terms of these cops walking away, there's a whole bunch of blame to go around. Obviously, the media. For decades, the media hated the cops, except when 9/11 went down, number one. Number two, City Hall. Every mayor after Michael Bloomberg hated cops. You also have Eric Adams, who was once a former MOS, not a black patch, even though he started in transit before the merge. He is no black patch by any means, but that's a different story. And especially Mamdani just absolutely hates the cops, wants to put social workers when cops are dealing with dangerous EDPs. And then you have the leadership at Police Plaza. Police Plaza was known as, headquarters. You go down to Police Plaza, you're in trouble. Or the brass knew what they were doing down there. But now it turned to Animal House because you got the former chief of patrol messing around with lieutenant who's earning overtime while getting the you know what. And then I blame the police academy. The police academy is not teaching these cops defensive tactics. They're not teaching the cops how to do the job properly, especially with situations with crowds. And then finally, I hate to say this, I blame the MOS themselves. But here's the thing. I understand. These cops have mortgages. They have car notes. They got families that need the insurance. And then they are working towards a pension. So they're like, you know what? If I do my job, if I effect an arrest, if I become proactive, and then somebody's going to catch me on a phone in my face, and then I'll be down getting CCRB complaints. I'll be down at headquarters being restricted and looking for another job. And then the city wonders why people are leaving in droves or not taking the job. Well, what say you about these cops just turning away in a snowball fight?
No, look, they arrived at a no-win situation. and their targets. They know their targets ahead of time. Hopefully, during a muster, the patrol sergeant, would remind them about airmail, because we all know what airmail is, stuff that flies through the air and just happens to hit a police officer or damn near hit him or her. And when you respond to those things, if it doesn't happen to you, or if it hadn't happened to you, you don't know what your reaction is going to be. You can't fight a gang. Three cops can't fight a gang of people, pelting them with snowballs. You get the hell out of there. It's like if they were shooting at you and you're outgunned. Get the hell out of there. There's no shame in stepping back and retreating. What the shame is that there's no charges. They find people that were doing it, based on videos and stuff. And even with videos, they refuse to press charges. So I see a lot of young cops going to other agencies, National PD, Suffolk PD, up north of the Bronx, Westchester PD, New Jersey, the state troopers, or some New York state troopers or something. I worked with a couple of guys in the 7.5, many, many years ago, and they ended up in Alaska as Alaska state troopers. As a matter of fact, one of them was on that television show, Alaska State Troopers, 15, 20 years ago. So you just have to imagine this idiot that's in Gracie Mansion not doing anything about it. And, Ed Koch wasn't the smartest bulb in the drawer, but he'd have put his foot down and he would have made sure that there was penalties for the violators. But, nobody wants to work. People want to be police officers, but they don't want to be, crapped on not only by the public, but, by their own superiors.
Right. Well, what would happen if you're back on the job, you're working the sector, and they called for a wild snowball fight, and they started aiming snowballs at your shift? What would happen back then?
Well, look at it this way. We didn't have these 9mm like they have now. We had police specials, 38s. Those things were always on the mark. No kick. I didn't have to look on my way to that kind of a call. I wouldn't have to look and make sure my gun was loaded and ready, because if a snowball hits me in the face, I'm not letting another one hit me in the face. So somebody's going to turn the snow pink. It ain't going to be me.
Right. Mike, what say you? Is what can the MOS now responding to these calls? Are they just? Is it hopeless, or is there something they can do, or is the union doing anything about it besides bitching about it on social media?
As far as the union's concerned, the only thing I see is them bitching on social media about things and showing up to do press conferences, and that's about it. I don't really see much action coming out of them for anything, really. You got Mamdani's office full of his communist psychos, and you've got activist DAs that are looking to prosecute cops and not criminals, right? So realistically, these guys know that. They're not stupid. They know what the field is leveled against them right now, and if they did do something, they'd be getting charged with crimes like they overreacted, this and that. It was a simple snowball fight. Even though on the video you see this guy picking up a giant block of ice and smashing one of the cops on the head with it. These guys got injured. It wasn't like these were just little bullshit snowballs being thrown. These were blocks of ice being thrown at them. And there were injuries. These guys had to go get treated for injuries. So that alone should tell you, if you have an injury, you've been assaulted, right? That was simple. That was simple, police academy shit that we learned. And yet, here we are playing the game of semantics with it, like, oh, well, it's just a snowball fight. No, it was not just a snowball fight. It was disrespectful. It was extremely disruptive, and it should have been resulting in numerous arrests. But instead, we get the politics get involved and the politics games get involved, and what happens? You get cops paying the price for that. So these guys knew what the deal was. They knew that if they went back there and tried to, bust heads and collar people, they were going to get thrown in themselves. They were going to get collared themselves. It's just not a good time to be a cop in New York City at all.
Right. Mike, you're the one that, the last one of us that left the job. Anyways, we'll come back. We'll talk about State of the Union and Scoop's clothing line. This is 7.5 Radio on Liberty News Radio Network.
Looking for an IT partner that truly understands your needs? Managed IT Services is the answer. We meet with you regularly to discuss your goals and form a tailored technology plan. Our customers have called us a trusted advisor who delivers. When it comes to IT, we do it all. Firewalls, cloud storage, server migration, and more. Say goodbye to long-term contracts and hello to a team that earns your business month after month. Call 801-706-6980 now and let Managed IT Services transform your IT experience.
Cybercrime is exploding. Take Sarah from Sweet Delights, whose world crumbled after having to close with not being able to bounce back. Small businesses are prime targets, but the right strategies can keep yours safe. Jay Hill, CEO of Network Providers, has co-authored The Cyber Playbook Simplifies Cybersecurity for Business Owners with Strategies to avoid costly breaches and fines. Build a strong cyber attack response. Secure your business with key protections. Cyber threats aren't slowing down, but you can stay ahead. Protect your business. Ensure its security for tomorrow. Get the Cyber Playbook today at networkprovidersinc.com/cyber-playbook or call 385-446-5500 now.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
This is 7.5 Radio with Walter Yuku. Walter Yurkow. Walter Kiwi. Here's Walton Scoop.
All right, we are back. And speaking of honey, I was doing my due diligence and looking at the Instagram account of our spokesmodel, the lovely Danila Rodrigues. Follow her at DanilaRodrigues.model on Instagram. That's DanilaRodrigues.model on Instagram. Anyways, as y'all know, I'm very in tune with the modeling and fashion industry since I hang out with some gorgeous ladies. My brother from another mother, James Edwards, sent me a picture of something from Scoop clothing line. And they showed this, model who looked like something from AI. She was too skinny and had super broad shoulders and just a hot mess. So anyways, I did my research, and it turns out Walmart has a clothing line for ladies called Scoop. I was like, oh, hell yeah. And so anyways, I am reaching out to Walmart to see if we can have a tie-in since I know a thing or two about the lovely ladies here in the DMV. But anyways, I was just mad because of all the ladies I do know, including our spokesmodel, didn't contact us to advertise Scoop clothing line. So, anyways, I don't know now I'm just thinking about it. I'm sure you gentlemen will have some nice comments about Scoop clothing line. Mike, take it away. What say you about the possibility of Scoop clothing being advertised here on 7.5 Radio?
Well, I got to say, first off, that Walmart is the perfect forum for any clothing line attached to you. Just right out the gate, Walmart is absolutely the best place to start for you. And I think it's great that you finally come out with a clothing line for those later middle-aged men with multiple restraining orders and all kinds of freaky, inclinations and stuff. So they too can share in your joy wearing bedazzled G-strings and, pasties on your nipples, things like that. The freaky stuff that you get into.
Well, Mike, Scoop Clothing Line is for ladies, but anyways. Well, what say you about Scoop Clothing Line? Should Walmart team up with 75 Radio to promote their clothing or casual wear for females?
Well, I think you're better off selling your aprons around at the nursing home because they are open in the back, right? And I think, they'd be better served. For bedpan use, massages, and backdoor, exit activities. Especially, if you go to, those parties that you say you attend. I used to go to parties when I was a younger man where the ladies would put their car keys in one bowl and the men would put their car keys in another bowl. The parties you go to, and then you try to figure out whose keys belong to who, your parties, it's teeth that go in the bowl. So you grab a set of dentures and run around trying to, see whose teeth, you got, see if they fit, and if they don't fit, then you got to do something else. So it pertains, it all goes around. Follows, Scoop Stanton women's wear. Has to do with, rear open aprons and false teeth and bowls and parties and stuff. It all goes around and around.
Nice.
That's all I have to say about that.
Well, for your information, I did. Can I talk? I did go to one of those key parties recently, and I put I threw the keys in the thing, and I pulled the set of keys out. I'm thinking, oh, we're going to exchange cars, and so I had my registration and my title. I was ready to go turn my car over to somebody else, get rid of this box of crap, as Mike likes to say. But unfortunately, it was something totally different, like Walter said. But I came by myself, and that was it.
I bet
Mike,
I bet you did by yourself.
Yeah, just like Valentine's Day, I did go on a nice river cruise on the Potomac River. Went on a nice horse and carriage ride around the National Mall. Went to a nice Italian restaurant in Old Town Alexandria.
Jumping in the river, running away from the police does not constitute a cruise.
Can I finish? Talk about my nice Valentine's Day. So I went to a nice Italian restaurant with the red and white checkerboard tablecloth, the candle in the wine bottle. Had a nice dinner. Went back to my new place. Drew a nice bubble bath. Put on some Teddy Pendergrass, Luther Vandross, and had some pink champagne with strawberries and chocolate. So there.
And baby oil.
Yeah, baby oil. And the only problem is I was by myself. But
that's what I mean. And baby oil.
Yep. And what was even worse, my father was in town and he was over at the house, and I forgot to shut the door. But anyways,
well, just like George and Seinfeld. So you're treating your body like an amusement park.
Yep. But see, I had a nice Valentine's Day by myself, but it's still better than you two guys who have significant others. But anyways, moving right along. You guys have anything else, or you want to talk about the State of the Union?
I just had one question. Are you gonna do the St. Patty's Day clothing line this year? The little 4-leaf clover loincloth thing that you wore last year, or?
Wouldn't you like to know? But in fact, I will be going back to Luciano de Torre's house for St. Patrick's Day. It's like an annual tradition. 2 years ago, we had the whole family on. And then Walter asked, you paint your nipples green. I said, Walter, I thought we were not going to talk about it because I had Danila sitting right next to me. So without missing a beat, she's like, I don't know why you're saying that because you're showing everybody at the party. So it turns out that Ms. Rodrigues also has a warped sense of humor and is also jealous of yours truly. But anyways, we'll have...
very jealous.
Well, she should be, anyways, because she's not Scoop Stanton. But anyways, we'll be that's in a couple weeks. Next week, we might be doing a show with famed photographer Barry Morgenstein. Might be doing something about that. Last time we had him on, I talked about the episode that with him. He does headshots. He also does family portraits. And I asked him to do a boudoir shoot, but he got so mad, used some really foul language, and smashed his camera. But we'll talk about that later. But anyways, anybody else have anything for the next couple minutes, or you want to talk about the State of the Union?
You can go to the State of the Union.
Say again?
You can go to the State of the Union. Go ahead.
All right. Well, the State of the Union speech is simply one sentence from Donald Trump, and he could have ended it right there. Democrats are destroying our country. That's all he had to say because he is 100% true. Look at everything the Democrats are for. They're for illegal aliens voting. They're not for people showing picture ID to vote. We got Cadillac welfare system. We got genital mutilation. People will support genital mutilation without letting the parents know. We got no school choice. The public schools are a mess. We had an open border. Democrats hate the cops unless they're fighting Republicans on January the 6th. They want free everything for everybody and somebody to pay for it. You got like people like Mandami in New York. You got Karen Bass in Los Angeles. You got Johnson in Chicago. You got all these horrible mayors just turning our great cities into Blake holes and so on and so forth. So, and then you had Trump recognizing the family of Irina Zarutska, who is an immigrant. Here you have an immigrant because the left loves immigrants, who was murdered on a subway train and for no reason whatsoever. So Trump asked people to stand up for the family of Irina Zarutska, which they did, except the Democrats. They sat on their ass doing nothing, and that's where he said, you people are crazy. And kudos to the widow of Charlie Kirk, because she stood up. She was sitting next to Zarutska's parents, stood up and gave Mrs. Zarutska's a pat on the back for love and support, which is really, really touching because Erica Kirk also lost her husband. So, anyways, but that's in a nutshell. State of the Union. Democrats are destroying our country, and boy, did we dodge a bullet vote for Trump. Walt, what's the year since we got a couple minutes left?
About the State of the Union? Well, next time.
Anyways, for Walter Yerkew and Mike Rigbrand, this is Peter Scoop Stanton reminding you, you can make a difference. Go out and make it. See you next week.
James Edwards for 7-5 Radio. For those who work the streets and the jails, thanks for keeping us safe. So long, everybody.